So I'm going to start by saying hello and welcome to everybody. It's the third year of WITS at GSE, and today is our second session. So this is our panel discussion. So women should not be obscene and heard is the title. Though this is one of our women in IT sessions, so we'll see what happens. A little bit of housekeeping before we get into things. Please remain on mute unless you are specifically speaking. This is to make things easier and to prevent any background noise. Social media, there are contests running across the contest. So the hashtag is #GSEUKC. The Twitter, if you use Twitter, is @GSEUKC. So please use those. This year's charity is NHS Charities Together. And we ask, since the conference is free, if you can possibly support the charities, please do so. The link is all over the agenda. So if you get a chance to support the charities, it's a really good cause. So please do that. As with all of the GSE presentations this year, this presentation will be recorded. There aren't actually any slides for this session. Questions, please, if you'd like to ask a question, put it in the chat and I will collate these and pass them on. If you would like to ask your question yourself, please put your name in the chat and then we can ask you to unmute when the time comes. Please remember after you've finished to give us the feedback. It's really, really, really important that we get feedback. Again, the link is on your BYOA. It is not the feedback that you give in Attendify. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Wesley to introduce, facilitate and take control for the next session. So over to you, Wesley. Thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Good morning, campus. I'm so pleased to be here. I just wish that we could be having an in-person conference instead of a virtual conference because I miss being able to see everybody and hug people and catch up at the coffee breaks. But I love that it's a virtual conference too, because it means that so many more people from around the world can get to join us. So what we have is we have a few snazzy panelists chosen because they have a background that's very, a wide range of backgrounds, all women in IT. And what we're going to be doing over the next hour is you'll hear a little bit about each speaker, and then we will open the floor to questions. And we are looking for questions about anything you want, basically. I mean, the panel is titled Women Should Be Heard and Not Obscene. But basically what we did is we thought of a snazzy title, and we remembered that last year, it didn't matter what the title was or what the brief was, people had questions about all sorts of stuff. And it was important, juicy questions. And we decided to go with that. So this year we thought, let's go with that again. Need to give it a snappy title so it shows up in the agenda, but you ask about whatever you'd like to. You'll have a chance to do that in a few minutes. And then our panelists will come in and whoever feels moved to answer will answer. And then we'll do a bit of a wrap up. And then we'll say cheerio. How does that sound as a way forward? Can you do, let's see, can you do like a little thumbs up icon or something in the reaction so that I know that you're, you know, awake? Okay, I can't see a thing, so I'm just going to trust that you're there and alive. Yay! Panelists, could you please tell us just a wee bit about yourselves, just so we have an idea of who you are? And perhaps also so that participants start thinking, ooh, I want to ask her this question. So who'd like to go first? Just feel free to speak as the spirit moves you. Or okay. Since it's virtual, sorry, yeah, was that, yay, Mary Solomon.
Hello to everybody. I hope everybody doing good during this COVID-19 time. So my name is Mary. I'm a consultant in SMT data in Denmark. For the last 2 years, prior to SMT data, I used to work in a Danske Bank It's the largest Danish bank in Denmark, and I worked in IBM India also. In my 9 years, a major portion of this journey has been associated with mainframes. Currently, I'm supporting multiple clients in the Nordic region. I have been involved in various mainframe optimization project. I'll help my customers in monitoring the system on a regular basis to understand the utilization pattern of the server and to identify the bottlenecks and to balance the resource. Actually, this directly lead to a reduction in capital expenditure and the overall operating system cost.
Ooh.
So this is just a simple overview, whatever I'm doing on daily basics.
Okay, thank you. And how long have you been in Denmark?
This is my 3rd year.
Okay. Okay, so you have some experience of one of the famous Nordic countries, which can be quite different when it comes to women in the business
Yes,
world.
you are right, actually.
Yeah, okay, great. Thank you so much, Mary.
Thank you.
Yay, yes, I can see Aileen applauding here. Mary, Russell, and Jess, who gets to speak up next?
Well, I'm happy to go ahead if that's okay. My name's Mary Russell, and I'm actually retired now, but I joined the IT industry on the mainframe side at the end of the 1970s and worked a very long time. So I've seen a fair amount of change, and I've worked for a lot of different companies. That's a quick summary of me.
I love that. 30 years experience. There are experienced people in IT who weren't born when you started gaining your experience. That is serious stuff. And folks, I know that Mary Russell has a particular interest in how we can get more young people and new blood into IT. So if you have any questions that are along those lines, she might be a good one to check in with. And Jess Ball down in Plymouth.
Yeah, hello everyone. It's nice and sunny in Plymouth actually, so it's great to be on the panel. I currently work as a mainframe system programmer at HM Land Registry since 2017. Well, I started at Land Registry 2016, but I was in a system programming team in 2017 after moving from a Python software developer. I started as an IT apprentice, been working my way up since then to be a permanent member of staff just last year. So I've been permanent member of staff for over a year now. And I'm also deputy chair of the Disabled Employees Network for my employer. So I do a bit of campaigning there. And we're just about to start our work on Disability History Month in a few weeks' time. I also have some ideas about how young women in particular, and disabled people can learn from each other as we all strive to be on the table, because it is hard for women with disability in particular to get into the world of work. And I'm here to prove that you can do that with the amount of support in place. Thank you.
Yes, I was thinking before this session that I said to Jess that in the great Venn diagram that we have the circles of women and disabled people. Jess gets to land in both of those. And I was thinking, what can we learn from each other? What can women learn? You know, since this is for women in IT, what can women learn from disabled people and how disabled people have campaigned and moved forward, so that we can also, so that we can not be contributing to the stockpile of reinvented wheels. So thank you, panelists. I'm excited and a little bit awestruck by you three. And participants, this is your chance. Everyone who's shown up for this is your chance to ask questions. So if you'd like to ask a question, you can raise your hand and raise your virtual hand. If you see, I think that's under reactions, or you can pop a question into the chat. Oh, there we go. Andy Coastlake asks, oh, here we go. You say that the Nordic countries are different when it comes to women in IT. Is that a positive difference? And if so, what can the rest of us learn from them? And I suspect that this one is like an accurate arrow directed straight towards Mary Solomon. But all panelists who have ideas on this, please answer. So is it a positive difference in the Nordic countries, and what can the rest of us learn? Yay, Mary.
Yeah. So based on my experience in the Nordic countries, working in the mainframe technologies, so what I feel about that in my current organization, even in the past organization, I always get that equal opportunities to get the great support from my colleagues. Actually, that makes me feel comfortable. That's one of the special point when we work in the Nordic countries.
Okay, and so you've been for 3 years in Denmark, and how many years have you worked in the UK?
No, UK, no idea, because past I from India, I worked in
Oh, cool.
IBM India, then I have moved to Denmark.
Okay, right, got it. So how many years in India working now?
6 to 8.
Okay, and what sorts of differences do you notice between working in India and working in Denmark in terms of how it is for women?
Okay, so one of the good point in India is a work culture is completely different. In India, currently is a lot of industry providing the most support for the women to bring up into the technologies in India. Even in the mainframe in the IT industry in India, we get the equal opportunity. It's like a man, we equally in universities. In you can see the number of female students in the universities are very high in India.
Good.
But when coming to the IT industry, I didn't feel that much difference in India and in Nordic countries. Moreover, is same culture, and they supporting and they encouraging younger women and or women. I'm really happy about to tell that I'm really even India in IT industry also providing a very, very good support. Even in Denmark also, I feel the same thing. I never feel I'm working in the IT industry. I always feel it's my family kind of, because all my colleagues used to
Mary.
provide that support.
Oh, lovely. And both for Mary Solomon and Mary Russell and Jess, is there anything in particular that you either think we could learn from the Nordic countries, or that you would like us to try to learn from the Nordic countries? Anybody can jump in.
Mary, you talk about having had support from people. Do you mean a support because you're a woman rather than do the men in the team get the same support? I mean, is there any difference really, you know?
Okay, because I want to tell you, this women, number of women employees in IT is less when compared to men employees.
Yes.
So the point, somehow the younger women have to get the encouragement and support from the organization to come up in their career path. If somebody have to provide the mentoring program, for example, I can tell about my career life. When I started my career in IBM, I was very shy and feared to communicate with others, even during that initial period. With the help of my peers and my friends and my managers, I have successfully overcome the issues and become an expert in mainframe performance. That's why we need a support from the colleagues and the managers, so that will create a better way to grow in the technology.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments from the panel before we zoom on? Yes, Jess.
I think having the right support in place has helped me get through in my job role at the moment, because I started in the mainframe with no previous experience at all. I'm not too scared to admit this. I thought the mainframe was just this green screen from the Matrix or something like that. But what a few months before I joined the team, what helped me was I was introduced to what work I was going to do before I started. So I was like, right, what research do I need to do
Right.
or to get into this? And I was more acquainted with the team beforehand as well. And I was also introduced to my buddy as well. I think having a buddy or someone in your team who is just slightly above you or maybe the same job role as you, that can help you if you get stuck. I think it's the right thing, because before that I was scared to even go to someone saying, "Can you help me with writing out this piece of JCL code or something?" So yeah, I think without having my buddy, I think I would have not struggled, but I would have found it a little bit more harder to cope. So yeah, I think
Buddy, because you mentioned the buddy before, I think in an email when we were corresponding. And I'm
yes,
curious to know, is this a buddy with a lowercase b, like somebody you met and you just get on with, or is this an official
a mentor.
Oh, okay. And is there a difference between a buddy and a mentor?
Well, we still get on as friends, but mainly the buddy. Well, I like to call it the buddy because it's a nice way. It's basically there to help you if you get stuck, get some tasks out of the way, well sorted as well. I think the first tasks I did was introduced by my buddy, so she would take me through a step by step. Obviously, with this whole pandemic thing, it's really hard to at some points to get new people into learning new things. But I feel like screen share with MS Teams and screen sharing is a really powerful tool. So just because we're in lockdown at the moment, that doesn't mean that the whole mentoring scheme should stop. Even remote mentoring, I think, can be really powerful. And I think for young people, maybe having a mentor from someone that's been there, done that, I think would say that actually, oh yeah, there's someone that's working in the IT industry that can do it. Maybe I could do that in the future. I think the younger that they start being introduced into IT, I think the more interested they will get. It's like learning a language, basically.
It's interesting because that leads into something that Hannah Cooper has asked, which
Yeah.
is that she works on a very male-dominated team and said that they've had sorry, you can tell who's been up too late watching the US presidential election results and just keeping her fingers crossed. My brain is a little bit fried. Hannah says she works in a very male-dominated team. She's an infrastructure audit function, and they're struggling to attract and retain female talent. And they're trying to address that, and is wondering what other people have tried that might help. And it sounds as if your buddy stroke mentoring is something that is helping with retaining female talent. I wonder, in terms of attracting female talent, what is there anything in particular that got the three of you interested in this field?
I'm looking forward looking at the next question that's coming in, which is also along a similar line. And
yeah, go for it, Mary.
And all the time, I've been in IT for what, nearly 50, I was nearly 40 years, more than 40 years actually. And I was always on the technical side. And it was always the same, that if you got more than 1 in 10 of the staff being female, you were doing very well. It was typically fewer than one, it was less than, there were more than 10 males to every female, always were. The big advantage was that if you went to some sort of function, you didn't have to queue for the loo. And that was it was very useful, but that was it. And it was always like that. It never really changed. And when I worked for IBM, one of the things that we did was, well, they actually had teams of people that went out to girls' schools, and they actually went for girls around to classes aged about 12 or 13, and did technical projects, not necessarily anything to do with computing, but something that was technical. And the theory was that if you've got 12 and 13-year-old girls to enjoy technical stuff and to think it was cool, then you didn't hit the barrier at about 14 or 15, where they wouldn't touch anything that was vaguely scientific. And that did seem to make a bit of a difference, but that was the only thing I really saw. And that's a long-term approach as well. You aim at 12 and 13-year-olds. If you're lucky, you'll still be working by the time you join IT, you know. But nothing else much seemed to work, I'm sorry to say, you know. And also I did a lot of interviewing on the graduate intake schemes, And again, it was very few women who were actually going into those schemes to apply to go into IBM.
Yes, and I misspoke earlier. I said something about 30 years experience. Of course, you've had 40 years experience,
Yeah.
and therefore a real pioneer.
That's a nice way of putting it, yes.
You are. When I first started coming to GSC conferences, I made friends with Mary and with Julianne Williams because we were the only women there, literally the only women in the entire conference.
Mm.
So other panelists, what do you think could help to attract more women, keep more women in IT? What's your experience?
I don't have anything to add at the moment. I can't think straight.
That's okay. Is there anything that in particular, Jess, that got you interested in IT instead of going off in a different career direction?
I think
Lure others the way that you got lured in.
well, the thing that got me interested wasn't from school. It was actually when I started actually making videos of my Legos. I was actually doing a bit of role play with them, and I was like, hang on, I could actually create videos and enjoy them and stuff. And then I realized it's more to IT than videos. So it made me feel like there's more to it than that, and I started learning a bit of website coding as well, and also doing a bit of sound editing as well. So nowadays they just learn basic computing, whereas at school where I was because I was in year 7 about 2007, so that's a really long time now. It was just like how to do a Word document, which got quite boring, but once it got to the sound and the website, I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. So I think I'm glad they're getting more into the computing side now, where it is more fun, it's more exciting, and we're starting to see more people this small get into it as well, like people as young as reception, early years, they're starting to learn like turtle stuff and coding that way, and I think they'll get more people interested, I think. But yeah, it was I think, and what helped me as well was I had a woman IT teacher, but yeah, I started when I was thinking about doing videos when I was like 10 and 11, and I just got interested in IT ever since.
That is fascinating. First of all, I think I can see a Lego model behind you on the shelf.
Yeah, that one.
Okay, so we've got the credibility there.
Yeah.
And about the woman IT teacher, and I think that's important because otherwise you get like when John Major was elected prime minister and people were saying, can a man be prime minister? Because they'd only seen Margaret Thatcher. Mm. And so having a woman IT teacher can show the young girls, yes, of course women are in IT. And there's also something important springing out for me here about not just looking for the next wave of talent in a professional context or in a careers field, but through people having fun and entertainment, people coming in through a different way, through making Lego videos, in your case. Other panelists, is there anything that you would like to add or ask?
Yes.
Yay, go for it, Mary.
So, so nowadays we can see the many women in the IT industry. For example, we can take it up. The Ginny Romatty is executive chairman of IBM. I think she is the one of the first female executive chairman of IBM. And in coming to this mainframe environment, Cheryl Watson, and she's a CEO and co-founder of a Watson Walker company. And
Right.
Kathy Walls is a distinguished engineer at IBM. So we need to be all the female and women employees. Even we have a lot of dreams. We can think about them, how they made the journey in a mainframe, how they're shining in the industry. These all will encourage the younger generation. Sometimes all the younger generation people, younger women, maybe think about that mainframe is the dark box. It's one of the old technology. They'll be so scared to come into this technology. But the truth is, I will tell you from based on my experience, it's a really a good field. Once you get into this mainframe technology, you feel the different.
Yeah.
It's a modern techniques. It's moving to the modern techniques. I feel very happy to tell everybody I'm from mainframe. I'm supporting mainframe. So I'm strongly encouraging the young women to come forward and lead this industry.
Mm-hmm. I like that. And you gave us a list of names at the start, and I'm thinking, Aileen, are you making notes for next year's panel? And this seems to be something from what a few of you have said, and from what I'm reading in the chat comments about having more visibility of women in IT, so that the people who are newer in IT or considering IT can see, yes, this is very much not just for the fellas. And Marcus Davidge has come in to say that he's agreeing with, we've had a few people, Marcus Davidge and Wendy both saying, yep, that they're agreeing with Mary, and that they've had great experiences. Marcus has had great experience volunteering with Code Club at his daughter's old junior school, and sees the possibility for women in IT being great role models here. Hannah Cooper is also saying that she's glad that Mary mentioned the school's idea, and that she's put that forward as well. And then an interesting question is, this is from Wendy Wilson. I think there's a big thing about getting girls into tech, but also how do we keep them when they start families, as it's not made that easy to return? Yes, because tech is a field where things move so quickly. It's not like being a history teacher where it's not going to have changed hugely if you take a few years out. So I'm very aware that plenty of women decide not to have children, but plenty of women do. So how do we keep women who have decided to start a family? What do you, any thoughts or ideas, panel? Yeah, Mary Russell.
Me again, right. Yes, well, actually, that is a wonderful argument for getting into mainframe computing, because we all know that mainframe computing is going to be absolutely desperate for people, because all my generation are retired. Right now, I'm supposing now if we had say a 20-ish-year-old person who is going into computing, if they go into the non-mainframe side, well, they're going to have to fight back in again if they have some time off to have children and want to go back to work. But actually, I can speak assembler, and I'm 150, and I could almost guarantee I could walk in, I could find myself a job this week if I wanted one, right? Because in mainframe, if you've got the knowledge, it's going to be around a very long time, and there's going to be a shortage of people for a very long time. And I think if you're worried about, if you're a woman and plan to have a career break and you want to come back, that's the safest place to have gone. Do you agree with me?
Wow. Genius. Yeah, we're getting thumbs up from Jess. Genius. 2 thumbs up from Aileen. Just okay, I'll do some thumbs up too, because I don't want to feel left out.
Yay.
I love that it's not just women can be in mainframe or in IT, but that actually it can be a very wise career choice for women who do want to start a family. It's, by the way, I must note this. I've never before heard questions. This isn't a criticism. This is just an acknowledgement. I've never before heard questions about, but how about if you're a man and want a career, but you also want a family? People don't have to worry about that one, do they?
No.
We have Marcus Davidge in the comments wanting to pipe up about Code Club or Coder Dojo. Aileen, could you please unmute Marcus?
Yeah, hi, she's done that already.
She's on it.
Hi, everyone. First of all, I feel singularly unqualified to be speaking amongst such a esteemed panel of competent and accomplished women. So thanks for letting me speak.
Oh, you're the man, Marcus.
For a few years, I've been volunteering. My time as when I was in Lloyd's and also now at BMC as a STEM ambassador or digital champion or whatever your company has got as a somebody to volunteer their time with Code Club or Coder Dojo. These are brilliant ways of getting kids involved and interested in coding and in technology as a career. For about 2 years, I was helping out with my daughter's old junior school in here in Wales. It was it happened to be a Welsh language school and sort of Welsh language code club. But yeah, Scratch or Python is Scratch or Python, whatever language that you speak at home. But I saw some really, really encouraging and positive results, particularly from the girls in year 6. How old are they? Like 10 and 11 years old. The girls mostly were interested in the coding side. They wanted to know how to do things, progress onto the next level. How do I make this web page pink? What CSS do I need to learn in order to make pretty flowers? But that I'm stereotyping, but that's exactly what they wanted to learn. The boys, they just wanted to play games. So I try and guide them into, okay, how does this game work? But they weren't interested in that. They just wanted to know how to play games. The girls, they wanted to know how to be able to do this, how to be able to make their own creativity come alive using code. And I felt out of place being a 50-something-year-old bloke, bald, with, okay, I've got 3 daughters of my own, but I didn't feel that I had much to offer, but that was wrong. I was appreciated, I was welcomed, but I did feel that if you are a woman in IT, you have a singularly unique place, an opportunity to be able to be a representative, an ambassador for women in IT and for IT as a profession. So if you've got time, volunteer, help out, find out what schools that you can bring your enthusiasm and technology skills to fire up the next generation. Rant over.
Marcus, quick question for you. What did you notice that seemed to work or not work in terms of translating early interest in these girls who want to learn coding, translating that into them actually going into IT as a career?
Good question. That's a very good question, and I don't know.
Okay.
I can think of 2 or 3 girls who were absolutely enthralled by it, captivated by it. And I know that they, having moved on to comprehensive school, I know that they're pursuing IT or ICT or whatever it's called, computer studies now. The rest, it could have been a fad or a phase that they were going through, and really there's nothing you can do to persuade them to turn around. It's all you can do is just open the doors of opportunity, show them what's available, try and enthuse them. If they pick it up, they pick it up. If they don't, they don't.
Thank you. And I love your insights about what's some of the differences in what's attracting the girls and boys to the Code Club. Mary Russell is dying to say something. Mary!
I was just going to say that, Marcus, that's absolutely brilliant. And you will never really know, but I would think the most likely thing you've done is to prevent them from going into that 14, 15-year-old stage of thinking it's not cool. And if you can avoid that, then there are all sorts of openings for them that you've made available that you'll never know. You'll never know what you've done, but I bet you have done quite a bit.
Yes. And Wendy Wilson in the comments has pointed out that there was a perception that IT was full of geeks and that was a bit off-putting for a lot of people. Speaking personally, that's part of what attracts me to IT people. I love geek stuff. But
Same.
Or is there? What do you think, panel? Is there a perception that IT is kind of geeky? And if so, is it true? And is that a bad thing or a good thing? What do you think?
It just depends what the person's attitude is. You know, I have 3 daughters and they all grew up thinking that doing puzzles was good fun. So they were open, they've all got maths degrees right now because
Oh,
it was easy to do maths, you know, because they grew up thinking geeky things were fun. And that's all you have to teach them really, is that it's not boring and geeky, it's cool and fun. And if you can get over that, you're halfway there.
yeah.
So full marks to Marcus, you know.
Yes, and to you for raising those daughters. Maths kids, fantastic. Who else? Jess, Mary Solomon, any other thoughts about what we can do about, any other thoughts about the geek factor? Do we need to do anything about it? And if so, what could we do? Hey, Mary Solomon.
Yes, it's depend on the person actually. For take it example for myself, sometime even in a day actually I don't talk to my colleagues. I'll just sit in front of my laptop and I'll work more than 3 to 6 hours very silently. But
Right.
because I want to focus on that one, but all my colleagues just they will be like shake me like, what are you doing? Then I'll be back to be like form normal. But that's not all depend on the person. um they some people they can take it as a cool way to handle that one. Sometime they'll take it as very serious and focus on the work. So
Yes.
it's all based depend on the person.
Yes, it occurs to me we are living in a world that values extroversion. Extroverts being people who get the energy more from being around others. And yet IT can be suited more towards introverts, people who recharge their batteries by being on their own. And we may be in the middle of a big shift, of course, with the pandemic and all the lockdowns, because lockdowns tend to suit introverts much better. And the extroverts are struggling. So I wonder if there's something, you know, perhaps without using the language of introverts and extroverts, but if there's something about encouraging and engaging more young people and more women in particular into IT by going along the route of, this is great for people who are happy working on their own, who can work in a team, but might actually prefer to just be able to work solo, use their own initiative. What do you think? Am I talking nonsense or am I making sense?
I think I found this whole lockdown thing to be, in a way, I think more motivating for me to actually do the job in a way, because because I have a disability, as I said at my intro, and when I started working at Land Registry, I found it difficult to connect with people from the outside world who is interested in IT as well, or people from my outside team as well. But yeah, in a way, I think also with the whole remote thing, I like actually chatting with people online that I don't have to have my camera on or something like that, even if it's just not having my camera on. I like that. Obviously, I like having it on for stuff like this, but for other meetings, I feel like I can just relax a bit more in the lockdown phase as well. And I think since I started in IT, I think I got better in networking with people that had the same mindset. And I attended my first GCSE last year and I absolutely loved it. And it's inspired me to network with people more. But obviously, with the whole lockdown thing, it's making things harder. So I think we should have more of these sessions that are on more remote level, so more people can actually come and see what's going on and stuff in the world of IT. So yeah, but I think I found it easier in this lockdown to see myself in a room working from home on my own, and then if I need any help, I could just call my team like, hey, I need help. So
that's interesting. That's something that keeps shining out from the things that you've said, Jess, is that you are willing and able to go to other people and ask for support with stuff. You know, how do I do this? And I wonder, is that a natural characteristic of yours, or is that something that you've had to learn over the years?
I had to learn it because at school I was scared. In my IT class, I was just scared doing stuff. I just asking. I was like doing this, and then at the end of it, I would just ask if that's okay. And for some reason, I just get so nervous. I'm like, oh my God, my teacher's not gonna like it or anything like that, or I might be scared people asking a stupid question. And I think there was this whole stereotype, I think, in IT as well, that some men were like, oh, women can't do IT. And I think that's why I got a bit scared. But now I'm at work, I'm here because I want to, and there's other people that are there because they want to as well. So I'm not afraid to go to them as well. And as soon as I progress further into my IT career from school, I did do a bit of uni before I dropped out, because I feel like getting some work experience, I think, was more beneficial than me than actually doing a uni course. So that's why I dropped out and become an apprentice, of course. But yeah, it wasn't a natural characteristic for me, and I just had to learn from it due to the disability I have. And to be honest, I'm gutted that I didn't learn it beforehand, because it's definitely got through my job at the moment. Because if I'm still scared to speak to people, I'll be suffering silence and I wouldn't know what I was doing. So yeah.
What is your perception? And this is for Jess and for other panelists as well. What is your perception of the degree to which it's okay for you as a woman in the workplace to say, I don't know how to do this, could you give me a hand? It's
okay.
Or do you get seen as, or something else? Yeah.
I'm lucky in my team to have people that say, oh, if you need any help, ask me. But I think we were encouraged when we started the apprenticeship scheme to ask questions as many times as we want, and people treated us as not normal people, started as people that want to learn. And if you want to learn, and then people will perceive you as being enthusiastic. So even if you are enthusiastic about something and want to learn more, just ask as many questions as you can. Even if you know the subject inside out, there's always something in life that you haven't learned before. We are learning every single day. That's the whole point of the GSE thing. I've learned quite a new things about this whole Zoe thing that's been going about, and those talks have inspired me to actually put it into my organisation as well, to start attracting more people in our organisation as well to come and work for the mainframe. Because a few of our guys in our team are going to retire soon, and how we're going to replace those. But the way we can replace those is start to attract modern technologies to actually use the mainframe, such as Docker, such as Zoe, such as RESTful APIs and stuff. That would get more people. Then they don't have to react. I can't get my words out. They don't have to use ISPF as much. They can just use it from a web GUI or from like ZOSMF or something, or ZOSMF. But yeah, I think it is nice that the conference this year is more about as well getting people in, that it's not just about the whole green screen aspect, it's also other things as well that they can get involved with, which interacts with the mainframe. And I think that's quite cool. And yeah. The DevOps talk yesterday, I think I found quite inspiring as well, that it's like, right, I want to introduce that to my organization. So
and we've got a comment agreeing with you, Andy Coastlake, saying it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, we all need to ask for help.
Exactly. Yeah. You don't have to be from a specific background. Just don't be afraid, really, to ask. I'm sure there's no silly question. To be honest with you, there's someone, even if you just ask something basic, it's fine. You're still learning. You might have forgotten something. So yeah, just don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Everyone is here to help. So yeah.
Thank you. And Jess, I need to just correct you on one small point. There is such thing as a silly question.
Yeah, sorry. There is a silly question. You can ask silly questions if you want to. We won't stereotype that. There we go. Sorry.
Earlier this year, I had a suspected heart attack, and the paramedics said, "You need to get to a hospital." And I didn't realize they were going to take me. And I said, "Oh, okay, can I ride my bicycle?" And they just looked at me, and I thought, there is such thing as a stupid question. In the comments, we also have Nick Chapman pointing out that there have been many female leading lights in IT, and he's thinking of Connie Smith, who published Software Performance Engineering in 1990. That's back when Mary Russell had only been in the field for a little over a decade.
I wasn't even born then.
Oh, shut up, Jess. Don't. Okay, you're
Sorry.
So we've had quite a few different things popping up, quite a few different ideas and threads. Panelists, is there anything that's come up that you would like to speak to in particular, where you've been sort of, oh, I have a thought? Not really, judging by faces. Okay. And we've got another comment from Marcus Davidge saying that if you want to see that young people can do it, look at Lena, Anna, Sophie, Jess, Beth, etc. And Andy, who a few minutes ago said it's okay to ask questions, said he's been working on the mainframe for 18 years. Respect, Andy. And that he still has questions he needs to ask.
As my old boss always used to say, a day when you learn nothing is a day wasted.
I like your old boss.
Yeah, good job, Mary.
So I've jotted incomplete notes of a few of the things that have come up in terms of getting new people into the field, particularly women. And some of those things are the importance of having role models and code club and similar stuff for girls. And I noticed Marcus's emphasis on go with what the girls are interested in. So if they want to know how to make a sparkly unicorn, instead of thinking, oh, do you have to be such a girl? Just like, go with it. Buddies or mentors. Mary Russell's point that mainframing can be an extremely family-friendly career. And a point that I've heard made before, which is because of what Mary described about people in mainframing retiring, the first generation retiring, new folks coming in, get into mainframing, and you could own this field. And then we've also had the issue come up of just that we need to be aware of the geek aspect, that it's thought of, IT can be thought of as geeky. And I think I'm hearing two prongs to that. One is, well, geeky isn't all bad. We like geek. And the other prong of, no, IT isn't necessarily geeky. There can be incredibly cool stuff and incredibly cool people, like those of us attending this panel. Incredibly cool people in IT. So we've got a comment from Beth. Beth NJ, I'm guessing Beth Newman-Jones? Saying, Marcus, you're a great example of supporting and driving the change at the coalface. Here, here. Yeah, we're getting some applause for Marcus. So can I open up the floor? I've just kind of recapped on a few things. What would you like to address that you might not have had a chance so far, panel? Whoops, and I'm just checking the chat questions.
Will I see if I can unmute everyone and see if that works?
Yeah, go for it.
Everyone try and mute themselves if they don't want to speak. Experimental because, well, as we all know, this is new to all of us. So bear with me one moment while I find the thing that allows me to do that.
And I'm curious to know, Nick Chapman, are you the Nick Chapman with a beard? The one I know.
Hang on, I should be able to find this.
Have we got everybody on?
No.
Oh, now Resley's muted.
Resley, unmute.
No, I was trying to unmute myself and I think Aileen and I were hitting buttons at the same time, and I was getting remuted.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
now allowing all participants to unmute themselves, should they wish.
Okay. Hey, participant. Hey, there's Nick Chapman coming up.
Yes, I am the bearded Nick Chapman that you know, Resley.
Hello, Nick. Thank you for coming.
I would have my video on, except I'm still in bed, and I didn't think that was appropriate. So
There's something you need to see yet, Nick. Thank you. And thank you for your comment about prominent women in IT.
I mean,
Yeah.
my experience, I was I'm retired now, like Mary, and but I was 25 plus years in IT, and my experience was always that women had an enormous contribution to make, and I was always delighted when I was able to get women into my teams. There is, I mean, I think as your panel have shown today, there is far less ego, I think, amongst women, and the desire to achieve the end result is often more prevalent than with men, who are often just trying to achieve something for themselves. That's a horrible generalization, but I mean, I always found it was tremendously valuable having women in my teams.
What works to keep them, to retain that talent, Nick?
I think an awful lot of it is to do with management. I think it is about your whole attitude to the workplace, and to women in the workplace, to women in IT. And I think simply to value it and to nurture it. You know, that is what it's about. And I think, you know, I feel that it's as much about getting the management improved as it is about anything else, in order to make women more successful in IT.
Okay, that's interesting. Oh, and when you say getting the management improved, do you mean management in general, or of women, or of men? Or?
I think all of that. I mean, the thing that frustrated me, I think an awful lot in my career, was the fact that, I mean, I was fortunate, I suppose, in the sense that I did work with a number of very good companies and management teams. But often when I was working with clients and seeing what was going on in other businesses, I was frustrated at the way that management didn't nurture and value particularly women, but it was often you know, men as well. But yeah, it was it is just frustrating, you know, because it's so unproductive.
So I'm curious, do you think that the people who were particularly not valuing women, do you think that they realized that they were doing that?
Not necessarily, no.
Okay, and what do you imagine it would have taken for them to have realized that and sharpened their game, so that women were able to progress and be involved and have serious careers in IT?
Difficult. I mean, it's a good question, but
I'm throwing it right on the spot, Nick.
yeah, I'm used to that.
Let me ask the panel that. And Nick, thank you for this, and thank you for not showing us your video if you're not dressed.
Indeed.
But let me ask the panel, what are your thoughts on, I mean, to what extent have you had an experience of management being key, in terms of perhaps not valuing women as much as was appropriate? What do you think, panel? Mary, Russell.
Oh, I was just having a little flashback for a second, and I'll tell you a very little story which comes back to about 1980. And I went for a job interview, and the interviewer, who was a manager, said to me, "How can you justify applying for this job in an area of very high unemployment when you have a husband to keep you?" And it's always stuck in my head as, yes, that's exactly my reaction, Aileen. I didn't answer the question. I just jaw dropped and looked at him. And I thought, yes, you're not looking at what I can do for a job. You're just looking at me that I'm, you know, I'm a woman and missing the fact that actually I can probably wipe the floor with a lot of the blokes you've got employed there in professional terms. Just that was a quick flashback. Sorry, just an
Wow.
amusing one. I know. Yes. I mean, nowadays they couldn't, it's illegal to ask a lot of the questions that I was asked in those days, like, what do you do about childcare and things like this? These were questions that were asked in my early days.
Yes.
But I think they're still not being asked, but sometimes they are in the minds of the people interviewing.
Yes. It's illegal to ask it, but not illegal to.
Yes, and there's a way around that. I mean, I learned that the trick with that was to say, you know, I know you can't ask me about my childcare arrangements, but let me just put your mind at rest. My mother's wonderful, and I never said she was disabled and lived 200 miles away, you know. and so sometimes I think what you have to do is you have to see the things that they can't, that are under the covers, that are, if like causing, there's an impediment there, and meeting it head on. Even though they're not legally allowed to ask you, face it and deal with it and dismiss it. And I think that's a good approach to have sometimes.
Yes, maybe it's one of those where we shouldn't have to, but
yes, I agree. We shouldn't have
level here. This is where we are.
Yes, we shouldn't have to do it. We definitely shouldn't have to do it. I totally agree. And we've got two options. We can either ignore it, or we can face it, deal with it, get rid of it, and get on with the job. And my attitude has always been the latter, because then you get a chance to show what you can do, and soon they forget about the other things.
Yes, and other panelists, and I also saw Marcus had his hand up. If you want to unmute him, please, Aileen.
Yeah, I'm unmuted. I was just being polite. Of all the millions of managers that I've had to put up with in my career, the last thing I want to do in this forum is, especially after the discussion that we've had about trying to get women into technical roles, is to persuade women to leave their technical roles and go into management. But of all the managers that I've had, two of the best ones have been women. They've been the most understanding, and that's it. That's all you need to know.
I'm glad you had that experience. I'm very aware of two things. One is that we sometimes hear talk about, you know, what's it like working for a woman boss or women managers, and I've yet to read a magazine article on what's it like working for a male manager or a male boss. What are males like? And the answer being, well, because they're all so different. The other thing I'm aware of is you have all been so interesting. We have gone up to 10 o'clock. So what I'd like to do is first of all, mention that there's something in the comments from Sophie volunteering to be a mentor. Sophie! You completely rock. Sophie Green, offering herself as a mentor to anyone who wants to reach out and have Zoom chats outside their team or role. Sophie Green. Mwah, mwah, mwah. And the other thing is, I would like to offer each panelist a moment to share any parting thought before Aileen wraps us up. So any parting thoughts, please, panelists? I'll go in the order across my screen, shall I? Mary Russell.
I would just say that everybody should go forth and be shining lights to any young people, whether they're male or female, and encourage them, really encourage them to come into the mainframe world, and let's keep the place running.
I love that. Coming straight from one of the shining lights of IT. Jess Ball.
It's never too late to start learning a career in IT. We've had people in the apprenticeship scheme that was doing a history degree and now is working in the IT industry and love it. So we were talking about young women getting into IT. It's never too late to start in IT. That's what I would say. So it doesn't matter how old you are, what background you're in. Just do it and go where your passion takes you.
Thank you. And Mary Solomon.
Yes, to be successful, the first thing to do is fall in love with your work.
I love it. I love it. Panelists, thank you. I so appreciate your wisdom, your willingness to agree, your willingness to disagree, your willingness to bring up new stuff. And participants out there in Zoom land, we've had some wonderful questions and input. Andy and Beth and Claire and Nick and loads from Marcus and Nigel and Sophie and Wendy right in there from the start. All of you who I haven't named as well, thank you so much for being part of this. And we do want to, Aileen's going to cover some of this, but we do want you to make sure that you do your QR codes for feedback and let us know. You've given some great ideas for possible panelists for next year. So any ideas you have about panelists or topics, keep them coming. Aileen, let me hand over to you.
Thank you, Wesley. That was fantastic. And I'm so impressed how well you kept everybody in order. Panelists, thank you so much. Just so you know, I think sparkly unicorns are great. There is nothing wrong with them. Everyone should have plenty of them. And pretty dragons too. So yeah. I'm very conscious that we've done well. We haven't gone too overtime, which is pretty good because these sessions do tend, and we've had really good interaction from the audience, which I'm delighted about because I was a little bit wary of the whole Zoom thing. So important things for everybody really needed. The other thing for this calculated is putting your feedback in through your BYOA or using the QR to donate to the charity is the second session, who was Velocity, everyone for their contributions. Please remember to support the charity again.
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt for a second. Your sound is quite dodgy and it's not just
really.
You sounded like a robot.
Yeah, could you turn off your video, please, maybe, so we can hear you properly?
I might turn off my video and see if that works.
Okay,
okay, can you hear me better now?
I think so.
Awesome. Sorry, my connection was unstable. Okay, so charity feedback. Thanks to everybody. The next session is our guided visualization in creative thinking at 10:30. It is in a different room, so please all, anyone who can make that, please turn up. It should be really, really interesting. I'm really looking forward to that one, Wesley. And with that, I shall close the meeting. Thank you, everybody, for such an amazing session.